Welcome to Fun and Games Side Quests. Every episode is a different host sharing a video game they love and why they love it.
Hi, my name is Steven Beaumont, and I am 1/4 of the Great Game Debate podcast. We're a video game debates podcast where we come together, hang out, make jokes about video games that we love or loathe, and just mostly have a good time. And today I am bringing probably the most important video game in my life, which is Pokémon Blue for the Game Boy. Pokémon Blue was my first ever video game that I purchased. I remember getting it from our local Toy World as a kid, and it took me on a crazy journey. Like at that time, obviously, Pokemon Mania was just kicking off, and the cards started to circulate around. But I really was just heavily invested in the video game, so much so that I came to school with a mate, and we used the link cable to trade and get ourselves golems and our alakazams and our machamps and stuff like that. So yeah, it was such an incredibly special moment and such a cool predecessor to, I guess, like online video games in that interconnectivity. And I've always loved that angle about Pokemon is community. And I think a lot of people misinterpret it today. Like one of the biggest arguments about Pokemon is that it's too easy. And I think people forget that if you've been playing video games for 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, 30 years, you're obviously your skill level is going to increase. So I don't particularly think Pokemon has gotten any easier. It's just that you have gotten better at Pokemon, and because it clearly telegraphs everything with its type advantages and stuff like that, that is why you find it so ridiculously easy. Like kids will still have trouble playing, Pokemon, and it's not the Pokemon company's fault that they've made a game that is so easy to understand and get better at. And that argument falls flat when it's like, have you gone into competitive? No, is usually the response because Pokemon's for kids or whatever it is. Well, I'm not here to change your mind, but I'm definitely here to just share why I think Pokemon is so special and why I haven't given up on it in 25 plus years. And for me, the perfect analogy is like when you're a kid and you're going on some sort of road trip or something with your parents and you come past like some wayward backwater town and there's just this stall that is selling pet rocks, like just a rock with some glued on googly eyes. And as a kid, that was cool and novel, and you just wanted to get that 50-cent rock with, just glued on googly eyes, and you wanted to name it Paul or whatever. That is the fundamental excitement that I still get from Pokemon, is finding whatever goober, whatever pet rock I can find and naming it something and getting that like relationship from spending time with, what is essentially just this, digital pet. There's something just so just joyful, and as well, like, growing up through the millennium and having so much just terrible, terrible news going on around the world, like it's just nice to look at Pokemon and it is still mostly so unjaded. Like, Black and White is probably the darkest storyline or whatever. Most of the time it's galactic or just the bad guys versus the good guys, whatever it is. The story really doesn't matter that much. It's just about going on a journey with six, cool, dorky, cute, weird looking monsters and building a relationship with them. And so, obviously playing Pokemon Blue for the first time, this was my first RPG, not understanding the systems, And obviously, it being so limited on the original Game Boy, so you didn't know what moves did until you chose them. When you leveled up and you got given a new move, you thought, yeah, of course I'm going to use that move. And then when you did find out, like, the strongest moves, Thunder or Hyper Beam, and then you find out later that those moves can miss, and you realize, okay, maybe I don't use those moves, and you end up going with the slightly weaker, Flamethrower or Thunderbolt. And yeah, you do take a bit of the mystery out of it. And the further down the timeline you go with Pokemon, as we get more and more information, and the internet is just so readily available. But I definitely feel like everyone should try to go through any mainline Pokemon game without listening to everything that they know about Pokemon. Like, obviously, everyone knows who Pikachu is, but just go in with fresh eyes, catch the new Pokemon. That's what one thing I really stress, is to try to catch the new Pokemon. Even if you don't particularly like them to begin with, you never know what they're going to evolve into, and you never know what moves they're going to have. And that's like so exciting and fun. Like, whereas that's where I fall off of a lot of traditional RPGs, where if I'm just getting Fire and Faraga and all that sort of stuff, and I know what the pipeline is, it's a lot less exciting. I just like the mystery that Pokemon gives you. And delving into the video game itself, I really love the Kanto map, how it interconnects and loops back on itself. You get sectioned off in certain parts of the game where you can't continue one way and you can't continue another way until you do some rudimentary RPG slash Metroidvania stuff. But then when you get fast travel, and how awesome the fast travel system is in Pokemon, and also the HMs taking up a spot in your roster's makeup and being a move itself, I actually really appreciate. That definitely adds an amount of decision making and a bit of tension in how do I make my team so that we can get through this next section. And those abilities giving you that Metroidvania access to the world and its secrets is also really underrated in early Pokemon. Like, there is optional quote unquote dungeons when going after the legendary birds. Going to the power plant is completely optional, and blink and you could miss it, because it is just on the edges of the map, where a lot of those edges of the map can just be background data fragments and stuff. But it's this extra area where you get an awesome bird at the end of it, get some cool mons to fight and catch. And yeah, there was a good amount of mystery in that game. So it blew up, and everyone knows why it blew up. It's just so damn charming, and it works so well. You have the largest roster of characters in an RPG ever. If you think of every single Pokemon as an individual character, and it has the largest move pool of any RPG ever. Like, it's crazy how many moves there are, if you go through the whole series of Pokemon now. So there's always something new to discover. Yeah, you may not get that pushback that you're looking for, but if you give yourself self-imposed restrictions, you'll have a great time. Or, as I said, just go back without eyes jaded by years and years of mental health issues that we've had to deal with over the last 20 years, and just enjoy the little things, the wholesome things. So yeah, playing through many times, I've done full dexes, and there's just so many different ways you can play. Like, if you have an issue with how easy any Pokemon game is, try Nuzlocke. They really fundamentally change how you play the game, how you think about the game, and how much you can appreciate just this derpy Pokemon that you didn't think you would ever like, but it just had a certain move, or it had just enough HP to just stave off defeat, like in a boss, in a gym leader battle. It can give new life if you stretch the rules of how you play it, or you just go in blind and you just remember a time where you weren't so cynical about the world. Pokemon will never leave me because it reminds me of a time when I wasn't depressed or anxious or angry. My favorite Pokemon are mostly Gen 1ers, but I love some new ones. But yeah, love my boy Gengar, Big Ghost, hell yeah. I love Alakazam, just this absolute glass cannon. Like, there are so many cool Pokemon. The fact that those two Pokemon are only obtained through friendship, through the act of trading with somebody, is also what makes it so special. Before you had shiny Pokemon, you had, trade-only Pokemon that made them so special. So yeah, I don't know where I was going with this. This is just the off-the-cuff thoughts, but I've been Steven Beaumont. This has been Pokemon Blue for Fun and Games side quests. I hope maybe you've learned something today. And as always, happy gaming.
Hey there, Screen Beans. Have you heard about Screen Snark?
Rachel, this is an ad break. They aren't screen beans until they listen to the show.
Fine. Potential Screen Beans. You like movies and TV shows, right?
I mean, who doesn't? Screen Snark is a casual conversation about the movies and television shows that are shaping us as we live our everyday lives.
That's right, Matt. We have a chat with at least one incredible guest every episode, hailing from all walks. We've interviewed chefs,
writers, costumers, musicians,
yoga teachers, comedians, burlesque dancers,
folks in the film and TV industry,
and more.
We'd be delighted for you to join us every other Monday on the Certain POV Podcast Network.
Or wherever you get your podcasts, fresh and tasty off the presses.
What? That's not...
Can I call them Screen Beans now?
Fine.
Screen Beans!
So tune in and we'll see you at the movies or on a couch somewhere.
'Cause you're all Screen Beans now.
She will be mine.
CPOV. CertainPOV.com.